The Natural Man Podcast.
Serenity Risvik has studied plant medicine and holistic health. She has worked with many world-renowned herbalists. She runs a nonprofit and is a certified practitioner of sound healing, where she has sold out shows.
I 100% solidly care about every human being that I come across.
Sometimes patients doing that modality can just have these emotional fits and they don't know where they come from.
It's easier to just trust what we're told.
And it's like just stuff that's built up inside that gets released when the body's healing.
And what really shifted, and I mean completely shifted my entire soul, was...
What was your experience with the medical community?
Then I had just a regular doctor's appointment checkup, and they made me aware that they found some...
Welcome. We are back for another episode, and our guest today has made wellness her lifelong mission. She runs a nonprofit. She has worked tirelessly to spread awareness about the importance of wellness and healthy and holistic living. Please welcome our guest, Serenity Risvik. Serenity, thanks for being here and hanging out with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk wellness.
Yeah, you have a story. I mean, something put you on this path, and that typically happens to all of us. When we're pursuing wellness, when we're pursuing health, something happens. There's a shift in our lives. There's an experience. There's a season of difficulty. Talk about that. What put you on this path to living healthy and pursuing wellness?
Absolutely. I would love to share that story. So many years ago, in my late teens, early 20s, I was living a normal life, a normal young woman's life. I felt like I was healthy because I felt good, right? But I was eating fast food every day. I wasn't educated on health, on full body health. I didn't have that upbringing, but I felt healthy because I didn't know better. I woke up every day. I felt good. I ate what I wanted. I did what I wanted. I must be healthy. So yeah. I was living that life for many, many years. And then I had just a regular doctor's appointment checkup, and they made me aware that they found some precancerous cells in my body. So this information basically took the air from me. I couldn't believe it. I almost wasn't believing it. There's no way, like, I'm healthy and I feel great. How can you feel great and have such a intense information be told to you? Yeah. So it took me a bit to digest it. And what really shifted, and I mean completely shifted my entire soul, was a conversation I had with my sister, who was I'm very, very close to. And I could hear the fear in her voice asking me if I'm going to be okay. And that moment in time, I promised myself I'm not going to be the reason somebody I love is in fear like that, or is in, is scared in that area of their heart. I have control over that, and I'm not going to allow that to happen to anyone I love for whatever I can do. So in that moment, it was a feeling I've never felt. Empowering, yes, but really scary because I didn't know anything. I didn't know what the problem was. So I remember that phone conversation. I know where I was standing. I know everything in my head. I shifted, and I devoted myself to studying, reading books, hundreds of books, so many podcasts, just asking questions. My older brother at that time was on a health journey too, so I connected with him and his thoughts. But from that conversation and that moment, I shifted, because my family is my life, right? So it was the information from the doctor, yes, but what catapulted it was the conversation with my sister, because a lot of the times we'll do for others before we do for ourselves, right?
Right.
So I almost was taking my health back into my own hands and my power be for them. That's kind of how
Yeah.
it felt at that time in my life. Which wherever we can find our power, take it, right? So
Yeah.
that's where my journey started. And from then on, I was listening to my body. I was trying different ways of eating and seeing what made me feel good, what didn't, and just being a sponge, right? Taking in all the
Yeah.
information and seeing what worked for me. And it's been a beautiful journey.
That's awesome. No, I'm so happy to hear that. And what happened when you found out that you had these precancerous cells? Was there a doctor telling you you needed to do such and such, or did you have to go on some kind of medication? Like what was your experience with the medical community that you were dealing with at that time?
I love that question because we need to talk about it more, right? We need to talk about how there are more options
Yeah.
besides what one other human tells you. But we're
Yeah.
so, we get so used to do what the doctor says, don't ask anyone else. They know best. Um,
Yeah.
all doctors do their best, and some better than others. But we do have the power to ask questions, to get second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth opinions. Um, but in that time in my life, that wasn't even in my head. Like that's how I live my life now. But then it's
Yeah.
like I never questioned anything that I was told by, doctors or government or anything like
None of us
that.
did,
Yeah,
right? Like none of us did. Like that's yeah.
it's the whole you don't know until you know. Like you don't know
Yeah.
until you know better. And so yes, I was guided to get them basically burned off and had this procedure and um, struggled a little bit with the procedure and I went on with my life and changed it and everything has been great. But to loop back around to your question, I wish I would have had the education to know I could have gone other ways about it. I
Yeah.
do believe that everything happens for a reason, and I'm grateful for my entire journey.
Yeah.
However, there's different answers to each question.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I thought there was one answer, and
Yeah.
that's the answer I took. But I believe it, led me down to the path of sharing my story with other people to hopefully inspire people to know the power's within you. You decide what's best for you, and listen to your gut.
Yep. Yep. And you know what? I commend you because it takes bravery to go on that path when you're dealing with a condition or an illness or a set of circumstances like you had. We're so quick to just jump on the first advice we get because we're scared. And it takes courage to step aside from that and read those books and listen to those podcasts and do what you did to get on that path. And very few people regret it. That's been my experience, and I don't know how you've seen that in your community and your circles, but it just takes a lot of courage, and I commend you for that. Um, I know you went into plant medicine and you've studied that now. Talk a little bit about that. What do you do in plant medicine exactly?
Yes. So, Mike, I like plants more than I like people. This is what I typically tell people. I love people, you guys. I love all of you, but plants, oh man, I just love them so much. So I started just letting the universe guide me. Okay. It's so much easier said than done. But after a few years of just studying wellness and universal energy and whatever your belief system is, you follow it and you listen. I started doing that. And it led me right to plant medicine and herbal medicine. And the way that I did that is I was just saying yes to things, mindfully and, don't get it confused with boundaries and stuff, but anything that was an opportunity that why not? The answer
Yeah.
was yes. And what came across me was a school for herbal medicine. A flyer popped up somewhere and I was like, I knew nothing about plant medicine, never had it in my surrounding. And I was like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I took a moment and I was like, yes. And at that moment, it didn't mean too much to me besides I'm just going to try something new. And there is something about, and I think almost everyone can resonate with this a little bit. When you do something new and you feel like it's a magnet, like you're just like that is something that you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
That is
like your calling.
Yes, that is your calling.
Yeah.
That is your passion. That is some type of energy that in this lifetime you're supposed to be around in one way, shape, or form or another, you know? And that's how I felt sitting there. I didn't know what they were talking about. I didn't know what questions to ask, but I was like drawn in, like magnetic. And so in that moment, I finished that whole course. I did at least a dozen courses after that in the United States and some in Costa Rica. I studied, there's a very well-known herbalist, Rosemary Gladstar. A lot of people may be familiar with. She is the superstar in a lot of the information that is umbrellaed with us right now. I studied under a lot of her team and a lot of ancestors out in Costa Rica. For me, just learning so many different cultures in different parts of the world is so powerful because everyone has a different nugget to share. Everyone has different experience. And this plant in the Amazon may have the same compounds and properties as this plant here in the Sonoran Desert in Arizona. So you just get to work with, when I talk about plants, personalities, I talk about how they have different personalities and they will tell you whether or not they will match with you, right? Like if we pay more attention to something that like, gosh, my body's craving this flavor, I love it, you probably need it, you know, and opposite. And you just have to be aware of how you feel when you do anything. And that is one of the main things I've learned with studying plant medicine, and to be safe, open-minded and safe, and just be aware that we don't know anything. Yeah. We're just here living this life, and we all have our opinions and our beliefs, which are beautiful and strong and create a foundation for us, but also lead with an open heart and an open mind, knowing that we don't know, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And you said ancestral medicine. So were you with like indigenous people in Costa Rica when you were there? Is that who you were learning under?
Yes. There was.
So what was that like?
That was, I feel like it's a word. I don't have the word, but I feel it in my heart. It was warm. It was powerful. And it was something I've never experienced in my life living the journey here in the United States that I ever have. There was so much compassion behind every single thing, and not just compassion, but like belief. So anything that they shared, they lived it. They saw A, B, C, and D work, or A, B, C, and D not work. So the energy behind their words, you could feel it, because that's like the energy that they just put out, and it was just true, pure belief, which it's so hard to explain, but it's almost unconditional love in conversation and in teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. I understand that you also work with some world-renowned herbalists. You already named some when we were talking previously, but like, so what was that like? Was that an eye-opening experience too? What kind of things did you learn from that?
Yeah. So one of the main things I learned from working with all these herbalists around the world was we're all in this together. I could go on and on about things I learned on what herb helps what in the body, mind, and soul, but the main thing I learned from these men and women was that there were no secrets. I remember starting off and them sharing, just putting everything out on the table about different formulas and products and information. And these were formulas and products and information that they also sold to support themselves in life. And I remember thinking, oh, wow. And then someone else said, why are you sharing all these formulas with us when it could make you lose money for your business? You have this same product out on your shelf. Everyone said the same thing in different rooms, different states. They said something along the lines of, there's no secrets like when you're trying to spread wellness.
Yeah.
We're all in this together, and I don't want this information to leave this earth with me.
Yep.
And I trust the greater power, the greater energy universe, that I'll be taken care of.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about keeping these secrets, and this is a secret formula or a secret recipe. That was really eye-opening for me, because for me, I would have thought the opposite. I would have thought, make formulas and then don't tell anyone the ingredients because it's yours and
it's proprietary.
Yeah. And so that grabbed my ball of energy and it turned it upside down, which I think is so powerful in life. Anytime something grabs you and it's like, whoop, what a cool thing to have that perspective shift. So from these people I've studied with, a huge thing that changed my life was, we're all in this together, and it's not all about you. Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah. And see, that's what I love about that world, is that there's snake oil and there's con men, con women in every corner of the world, right? So it doesn't matter what industry you're in. But I just find largely I've had the same experience as you in the holistic world, whether it's a naturopath or an acupuncturist or a traditional Chinese medicine clinic or whatever it is. These aren't secrets. Like, these people are all interested in healing their patients or their clients, and they're there to take care of them, and they're sharing everything they know, and it's not proprietary. There's just everyone has the same goal of wellness when you get into that space. And so I love that. I totally echo that. Whereas, when you get into other modalities, it might be more proprietary. We have the best robotic arm that does this surgery and it's patented or whatever it is. And those things are good. But I just like that. I like how unified holistic medicine is. Everybody has the same goal and nobody's trying to be better than anybody else.
Yeah.
So why do you think more people don't look to plant medicine when they get sick?
I think that for a long time, well, first I'd like to say I do think there's a shift. I think more people are looking to it, and more practitioners are starting to utilize it in their practices. But it's interesting, right? You think you're given a pill and you're like, take this pill. Here's this long list of side effects that may happen, and on there is death. One of them is death, okay?
Almost always,
yeah. Another, it's just, okay, so here's that, take it. Yeah. It may or may not help you, and it might make you worse, and it's just covering up your symptoms. No root cause. And then everybody's like, sure, that sounds great. How many a day do I take? And they move on with their life. But when I give them like an essential oil or a tea, I'm like, drink this a couple times a day. They're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Know about that. I Googled it and it said, it may or may not, give the smallest little things. And they're like, I'm going to talk to my doctor. I'm going to opt out.
Yeah. I want to see the clinical trials on that before I touch it.
It's sometimes I say you just have to laugh at things. And that's one of them. Because then you try to explain it to them. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? So what's going on is we've been so programmed, right? We've been so programmed to listen to the doctor and listen. The government loves us and trust what they say. It is becoming more and more eye-opening that things are shifting in wellness, and plant medicine and sound therapy, which I do as well, is being utilized so much more. But it's easier to just trust what we're told, right? So a lot of us don't like change. A lot of us don't like the friction in doing the work. And so I think a lot of the times it's taking the easy street.
Yeah.
And we're all have our life journeys, right? No one better than another. But when you take the easy street, that would kind of be just take each step to what you're being told to do. Take this pill, then that one. Oh, now you have this problem, take this one. The hard street is questioning, is having those uncomfortable conversations, is having a friction with another human being that you don't agree, and being okay with that, and taking the time to read books, taking the time to do research, right? It doesn't have to be spending a lot of money on different things. You can just take your power back. Start by just researching and questioning things. Even things I think I know, I still question them. So I think a lot of people don't utilize plant medicine or natural modalities. Number one, because it's not easy street. Until you become passionate about it, it doesn't become easier. And that takes a little bit of time. So the easier thing to do is just walk the road. Walk the road that we've learned growing up, that most of us just saw our parents do and see all our friends, and so that's the easy way to go. And the other one is sometimes we just don't know. Like when I grew up, I didn't even know. So I do think it's becoming more and more known, and that's one of my goals, is to just let people know the power is within you, and you can take it back anytime you want, and it doesn't have to cost anything. So no matter how old you are, child all the way up, spreading awareness and education, I think is important, because that's the main reason people aren't utilizing it.
Yep. No, I agree. And, I said this before, but I need to hit on this again. It takes courage to walk out of the line that everybody's following, and it takes courage to ask questions. And sadly, sometimes in the medical profession, certain personalities of doctors, not all of them, and I know they're all well-meaning, but they don't always like questions, right? It's just kind of like, do what I say. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Why am I doing this? Why are you suggesting this path? And what if I go the other path? It takes courage to do that, and it's work. Like you just said, you read over 100 books when you went on this path. How many people have the commitment to do that, right? It takes a commitment to take responsibility for your health, and that's a continuing theme on this podcast. We're always talking about that, but I can't emphasize it enough. And I've scrolled your Instagram page, and like myself, you take drinking water options very seriously. What kind of water do you drink?
Yes, great question, right? Because our body is mostly water, and we need good water. So for me, and just continued learning, right? But I drink a mountain spring water and glass bottle. None of the aluminum bottles that are out, none of the plastic. All of these things have, micro pieces that leach into it and then go into your body. So you have the power to choose that. So why not, right? And I'm sure you're super well aware, most our water, and I use this word often, but I truly believe it, is poison. So why do that to yourself, right? And you educate yourself, and then you notice, the tap water, so many other waters have fluoride and different type of chemicals, different type of antibiotics that they're finding in it. And you're putting all this into your body, and your poor body is trying so hard to constantly clear that out. Then how long can you build on top of something before you're shoveling and it wins?
Yeah.
And so water is one of them that is just no joke. So if for like your house system, one that's easy and like not super expensive is an RO system, right? And then you get into it pulls out the minerals and pulls out all the good things. Yes, so then you want to add some of your trace minerals back into the water. But you just want to be really careful with the water you drink and pay attention to it. Tastes different. So if you'll notice when you travel or go to restaurants or whatever, and you're like, this water's weird. It's
that happens to me all the time.
Fluoride and maybe some trace antibiotics or something in it.
Chlorine.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm so mindful, so much so that, you know, your tribe understands, your people that understand, and the ones that don't are like, why does she bring an extra suitcase full of food and water every time she travels? Like, doesn't she know that, you know, Chicago has food, like their own? I'm like, I don't want to be stuck not finding what I want. Like, I take it so seriously. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. And you're a big garlic fan. I saw that on your feed as well. Why do you like garlic so much? I mean, I probably know, but tell our viewers and our listeners.
So two reasons. One is garlic. The taste of it is just amazing. Garlic is like my flavor profile. Love it. But from an herbal medicine point of view, garlic is a superstar. So garlic, I use it for so many different reasons. I marinate, for lack of better words, soak garlic in like an apple cider vinegar or a honey. I have one in my apothecary right now that's been in there for 3 years. And anytime you feel the body like, am I getting sick? Or you feel like a shift or a tickle, boom, I start popping a couple of those a day, and it snaps you back. The properties for the immune system, garlic is amazing. Even if I don't do that, right? Just get a garlic clove, put it through a press on a spoon, and you take it, swallow it with some water. Some of these things could be a little powerful and a little strange before you're used to it. You're like a whole glove of, you know, but wow, if I don't feel good, which is really rare, or anybody I love or know, they're like, what should I start doing? Garlic's one of them. So for me, garlic is medicine. It is a very powerful medicine. There's other fun little nuggets with it. If you cut it open and you rub it on like a mosquito bite, it stops the itching.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, try it out. You still
All
garlic, but you know,
yeah, who cares?
I would, yeah. It's I always tell people, I'm like, you have to be okay with the smell of garlic if you want to.
As long as you're not at a party or trying to make an impression.
Exactly. But garlic's another one I don't travel without. I have a little bag of stuff I bring, and there's always a garlic clove in there, 1 or 2 garlic cloves. Yeah.
Wow. And so what's your diet like?
Yeah. So my diet continues to change because I continue to pay attention to my body, but for about 10 years, I have been plant-based. I don't know what's best for everybody. We're not one size fits all. So what I preach is no matter what you eat, whatever feels best for you, sourcing is what matters. Where your food is sourced. So for me, I'm mostly plant-based, but what's important is sourcing, you know, organic food, farm-raised meats, and wild-caught fish. So the world is becoming more and more aware of industries that antibiotics in like our poultries and all the mercury found in the fish and all these things, right? So these have beautiful nutrients and you can thrive on them if that's what your body type you know needs. But sourcing is going to be what's going to make or break it, because is it filled with chemicals? Was it sprayed? So your fruits and vegetables, you know, you want to, if you can, shop local, like a local organic farm. If not, just try to shop organic fruits and vegetables to keep those pesticides off your food. And then for your meats, fish, and poultry, you know, again, if there's any local people that hunt and sell it, or just like farm raised and the animals outside and, you know, eating bugs and like, you know, living their life the way they're supposed to live it.
Right.
So I'm just a big preacher of sourcing whatever food is best for you, because the energy is behind that too. The energy of the animal or the plant that you eat is no joke. It's it's just, energy is a world that we're becoming more and more familiar with, and that is my heart and soul. So like the energy behind what you eat then goes into you. It becomes a part of your energy. So if you eat a plant or animal that was like under stress all the time, that then comes in to your field. And so you just want to be mindful of that.
Yeah, highly inflammatory too when you're eating sick animals or
Yeah.
plants. Never beneficial on our bodies, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about exercise? Are you active or not so active? What's your take on that?
Absolutely. I think moving the body is so important. Move your body for so many different reasons, and it doesn't matter how. Go for a walk, jump around, dance, whatever you want to do. But we have to move our body, and many, many, many reasons. But because of the energy field, sound therapist industry that I'm in, we get stagnant energy in the body. So we have to have that energy flow, right? Connected to the Chinese meridian lines that acupuncture works on and stuff. So when we get blocked energy and stagnant energy, it can create pain, discomfort, disease. Moving the body is one way to move that energy. So don't stay stagnant. Do yourself a favor and move the body to move blocked
Yeah.
energy. For me, I do all kinds of silly things. Like I work out and I run a couple times a week, but I love to just like be silly, like turn music on and just like let my inner child out. Like she wants to just come and stomp around and flail around. And moments of those, you'll move energy. So
Yeah.
so physical activity, it all comes into play. You want to like keep your muscles and your fascia and everything working out. But if you want to keep it simple, just promise yourself to move your body every day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Good advice.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it, and I really wanted to get to it. Sound therapy. I see you have, do I call that a symbol? What do I call that?
This is a gong.
I don't, a gong. Okay, there you go. See how ignorant I am?
Not at
So,
all, not at all.
so sound therapy. I had a chance to check out one of your events in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it was really cool. So talk about that. Like,
Yeah.
what is sound therapy?
Yeah. So sound therapy, you may have heard of, sound bath, sound ceremony. All of those come under the umbrella word is basically sound therapy. And in a nutshell, it's a combination of different tuned musical frequencies that help calm and stimulate different parts of our brain. And so two things, it can guide the listener into almost that meditative type state where you can heal on a cellular level. It's being used a lot in hospitals, a lot in schools, elderly homes. Sound is like, right? It's from so long ago. So when you say it's up and coming and becoming popular, it's just
In our culture, right?
very, yeah. And so the other aspect of it, which I focus on, is energy. So energy work. Sound frequency vibration is a very gentle modality to move blocked energy through the body. So everything is frequency, right? You are, I am, every single thing that exists on this planet seems solid, right? We are not solid, nothing's solid. You zoom into us, and we're just a bunch of vibrating, little particles, cells. And that's important to note because what moves through that? Sound, frequency, wind, all these things can move through us on a cellular level. And so when you have blocked energy somewhere in the body and you go to a sound bath or sound ceremony or a one-on-one, sound frequency thing with a practitioner, it can move that blocked energy through the body. And so it's very powerful. I like to say it's the easy, gentle modality because it's just sound and frequency, but it's really hard because you have to let go of your ego, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these blocked emotions, a lot of these blocked energies are connected to emotions. So they have an emotion connected to them, and it could be from 3 days ago, 30 years ago. It's so likely that you're not going to know why your eyes are tearing up, or why sadness overcomes you and you cry, or why you feel really angry. So you have to let go of ego, because why doesn't matter. A lot of times it's like, well, where's this sadness? Was it this? Was it that? It's almost none of your business. It doesn't matter. So honor how you feel and let it move through you. And once that energy moves through you, it's like a weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
Right?
It's Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh my goodness, no. I could talk about sound till the sun goes down and up.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's amazing how the senses, utilizing the senses can be therapeutic. I remember I went to an acupuncturist years and years and years ago, and he took a tissue and he put lavender oil on it and he put it on my face as he did the needle applications. And he told me this has a calming effect. And I'd heard of lavender, but I wasn't familiar with it back then. And of course, like yourself, I do research. So I went home and Googled it, and lavender helps those GABA receptors and really encourages neurotransmitters, the calming neurotransmitters in the brain to activate. And so it was just amazing how he utilized that on top of his other therapy. And so it just took me back to that when you were talking about how sound moves through us, as do all the elements, and that we haven't really embraced that as a mode of therapy too much. So it's fascinating that you've gone down this path. How did you get into this?
Yeah. So, Mike, it goes right back to how I talked about the magnet of like what draws you in. I wasn't a musician. I wasn't connected to, sound or music at all. But on my journey of herbal medicine, you learn a bunch of different modalities, especially when you're connected with different cultures. So my eyes and ears were open, and somebody was talking about frequency and how frequency interacts with us on a cellular level, and how it's medicine, and how for a long time it's been used as medicine. And our voice is medicine. Voice and drums were some of the first powerful types of medicine way back when. And so I was listening and I'm like, okay. And so I just started reading a couple things and then learning from some practitioners, and I felt like I already had been doing it. Mm-hmm. So somewhere in my ancestry line or past lives or whatever beliefs people may have, when you have a moment where you don't know the information or what's going on around, but you also feel like it's already a part of you, that's how I felt. So I just continued on. It wasn't a question in my mind. I felt like it was a part of me from the moment I started learning about it, and it has been ever since. It's such an interesting thing because there's no pinpoint of a shift. I just remember hearing about it, and I was like, oh, yep, that's mine. And I just kept it.
Yeah.
I've kept it and learned about it. And, and now I facilitate huge events, small events, one-on-one, and they're all so powerful and so beautiful that I could never stop. I never want to stop sharing frequency and sound and vibration with people because it's so accessible to everybody. It's just sound. You don't need to buy this or any other instrument. You can hit a wooden spatula into a bowl in your kitchen and see how it makes you feel and play with sounds.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of reactions, or what kind of results is maybe a better word, have you seen applying this mode of therapy to people?
Ooh, I got the goosebumps. So many powerful shifts, whether it be mental, physical, or spiritual. I have a lot of clients have out-of-body experiences that come and give them answers to things that they've been searching for in their life. A lot of release. The word release is going to be really important in that answer because we hold on to so much, whether we know it or not. We hold on to anger from who knows when, traumas that could be so small or big. So many emotional releases, whether it's crying, screaming of anger, laughter, being silly and dancing, anxiety, where you're just almost paralyzed. All these things come up really often in my one-on-one clients. And it's almost that they get to release what no longer serves them and take their power back. So there was a block. We all have blocks, right? And we've all hopefully experienced moving past it. Sound and frequency is one of them. I'll give a quick example of a woman that gave me permission to share one of her recent experiences with me. So, and just a reminder, like, we don't have to know what was that? What just happened? But she hadn't been sleeping for over 5 years. She said she cannot sleep. She didn't sleep for more than an hour at a time. It was basically paralyzing and killing her slowly. And she didn't know what else to do. She's seen so many doctors, took so many pills, took this, that, and the other, went into holistic things, went into, mineral deficiencies, all kinds of stuff she dug into. And she came to a ceremony and we did a one-on-one with her. Right. And what that looks like is I just work with your energy field, whether it's your meridian lines or your chakras of the body. We work on ones that may be blocked and need to be cleared. And basically she had what she described as an out-of-body experience. Her body started shaking, trembling, which a lot of the time is trauma. When you're releasing trauma from the body, you tend to shake. So when you start shaking, don't be scared. Breathe. Focus on your breath no matter what you're doing in life. If you're shaking and having emotions, breathe through it. As long as you're breathing, you're probably okay. It was a really powerful experience. She didn't know why. She was crying, kind of screaming, shaking, and uncomfortable. She didn't know me very well. How vulnerable do you have to be to let that go? She could have easily swallowed it down and held it in. This is weird. I'm not doing this in front of a stranger. Yeah. She welcomed it. It lasts about 3 to 5 minutes of moving energy. And from that day forward, which was October of over a year ago, and I just saw her. I had a retreat at Mountain Shadows Resort. Besides the point, she has slept every night normal since.
Wow.
So I call it magic. Was it blocked trauma in the body that was stopping her from getting into a state to sleep? Yeah. And at the end of the day, we can put all these things on paper, what it could have been. But sometimes you just have to accept what it is, what you experienced, and be so grateful and move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing the things we hold on to, past traumas and whatever else that is. I don't know if you're familiar with the late Charlotte Gerson from the Gerson Clinic in Mexico. I've seen a lot of her talks over the years, and I remember her talking about, the Gerson therapy is like a heavy, aggressive detox therapy that a lot of cancer and other terminal illness patients tend to try. And it's so intense. There's so much detoxing going on that sometimes patients doing that modality can just have these emotional fits and they don't know where they come from, and they can just tear up, and it's like just stuff that's built up inside that gets released when the body's healing. So it just took me back to that when you mentioned that. That's interesting. So can you give us like a little demonstration? You have that gong behind you. Can you throw down for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Most importantly, we honor how we feel in any moment, right? And a lot of us were raised to suppress emotions. Don't cry, don't be mad, don't throw a fit. But when you feel things coming about, it's moving energy. So it's so important to know that, shift that and pay attention and thank your emotions. When my emotions come and they leave, I just say, oh my gosh, thank you for moving through me, whatever it needed.
Yeah.
So here we have one of my beautiful gongs, and I would invite everybody to take a nice deep breath in and just release. Making sure the shoulders are nice and heavy. Taking a moment to feel gratitude in the heart. Just listen to the sound for a moment and let it move through you with love and intention. Nice deep breath in and out.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And you shared some footage with us that we're going to show as well for our video version, and I appreciate that. And you have quite a following with sound therapy and these sound shows, because you've sold out the MIM, if I'm not mistaken, the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix. That's a very hot venue in Phoenix, Arizona. How often do you do those shows? And do I call them shows, events? What do I call them?
Yeah, I events would be definitely proper, and I call them ceremonies. But words are words, and it's really a group of people, a community, right, coming together. Those are really big. Those are 300 plus. So the MIM was actually me and my fiance, Lee Pereira. So he's an award-winning artist and beautiful and does so many things as well. But those big shows are typically annually. But I have been traveling a lot, so annually per location, if that makes sense. The 300 plus shows have a purpose of power and community and reminding each other we're not alone, right? And so there's so much beauty behind those big ones. And then throughout the year, like you mentioned, I do smaller ones. So drop it all the way down to 50, sometimes 20 one-on-ones and retreats. I do retreats year round. I have one coming up this year in Costa Rica. And those are important, Mike, because when you're ready to say, I'm done with my excuses, I am done, like I have nowhere else to go because I'm depleted and I'm ready to change my life. I will not take no for an answer. I'm ready to go. The smaller ones are so beautiful, because you get to know each other. You get to tap into other people's energies, and there's so much power behind a human and a human talking to each other and listening to each other one-on-one. It's an unbelievable energy and motivation and support. So my following comes from me leading with compassion. I believe I 100% solidly care about every human being that I come across that is on any platform that I have. I truly care about you so deeply. And that runs through my blood and my being. And I believe that we haven't even barely tapped into how much we know about energy and how we're all connected, that people can feel that. And so we give that to each other. And I believe that that's how my following continues to grow. They teach me. I teach them. They teach me. It's just a community of people that I like to say we're all on a journey together, but we're all on separate journeys. Mm-hmm. So we can all come together to go on journey, but we're all on our separate path, and we respect each other's paths of what we're going to take. There's no judgment in my community. I won't stand for it. it gets deleted, it gets whatever. That energy cannot be around pure love. It can't.
Oh, there's way too much negative energy out there. I agree with you. You got to run from it when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to run from it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your fiance. You and your fiance have a nonprofit. Is that right? Can you tell me about that?
Absolutely. So giving back and leading with gratitude is growth, in my opinion, because the universe gives back as well. So we run a nonprofit. It's called 16 by 16. How did it get this name, Mike? That's an interesting name. Where'd you get the number 16? So years ago, Lee, my fiance, says, I'm going to run 16 marathons in 16 days straight for charity. I'm going to run to California, raise money, and really dear to our heart are Arizona veterans. So our money always goes towards something in Arizona. We've never taken a penny. But I was like, okay, 16 marathons, 60 days. That's interesting. And that was before the nonprofit. That was just something he wanted to do because he gives back his time a lot, and we both do separate things. And I said, let's do it. And so now he has done that for multiple years in a row. We've raised close to $200,000.
Wow.
Just doing these, sporting events, or I put on different types of community events. And we've had just beautiful humans come and join us. Community comes together when they have inspiration. Yeah. And so our goal is to bring awareness to the fact that one person can so change things. I hear so many people say, I'm just one person. And then I say the same words with a different energy, right? I'm like, you're just one person. How exciting. It all depends on how you want to say it, right?
Yep.
One person can make such a big difference. It doesn't have to be huge. Touch one other person, and then that person touches 2 people, and then that person touches 5 people. And guess what? It started with you and one other person. So don't downplay your power. It can be just a conversation. It can be just listening. Yeah. Don't downplay how much you can give. It's remarkable.
We all have the power to make or ruin somebody's day.
Yes.
Right? And we've all experienced that, right? But we can't let that power come over us. Mm-hmm. So if somebody ruins your day, you gave them power over you to ruin your day. Yeah. So we have to be mindful of that when we interact with individuals throughout our day. That's really cool. That's really cool. Is there a website for that nonprofit, Serenity?
Yeah, it's www.16x16inc.org.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. We'll make sure to put that in the show notes just so people can check that out. And where else can people find you?
Yeah, so you can check me out on my website. I'm always on there, and that's www.lifewithserenity.com, all the full words written out. And then my most active platform is Instagram, which you can find that on my website too. So instead of giving all the different handles, the main place would be my website, and then it can direct you to all the other platforms. And I would love to hear from anyone and ask questions, join the community. Like, my arms are open.
For sure. Well, that's awesome. And we'll make sure to include all that in the show notes so people can find you. Serenity, this has been fun. Thanks for hanging out with us, and thanks for sharing your wellness journey, and just keep doing what you're doing. I love it. It was great talking to you.
Thank you so much, Mike, for creating a platform for people to share. It's more powerful than I think most people understand. Awesome.
Well, that'll do it for this edition of the Natural Man Podcast. You know how to find us, naturalmanpodcast.com. We're also on YouTube. And subscribe to us if you haven't already. I'm Mike C. Until next time, stay healthy.
Thanks, guys.
The Natural Man Podcast.